Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We're continuing the topic. Who is Krishna? The question, who is Krishna? Many people will give different replies. Can you hear okay? No? Many people will give different replies. Actually, everyone will give a different reply. Everyone in existence, because everyone has a different relationship with Krishna. That's why we're all here. Eko Bahu Syam. The one became many. Krishna is supreme and he has expanded himself into many, many forms for his pleasure. The jivas are also expansions of Krishna. They are Vivinangsha, the difference. The difference between them and Krishna is pronounced, but we're also part and parcel of Krishna. We're meant for his enjoyment. So Krishna has made us all different, just like everyone's thumbprint is different, right? So every jiva, they have different relationship with Krishna within 5 rasas: Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, Shringararas. So there are 5 basic typologies of rasa or relationship. But everyone has their own specific individual relationship with Krishna. So whoever we ask, they have their own different feelings toward Krishna. So if we want to try to enumerate them all, that won't be possible, but at least speak of some of the different outlooks on Krishna. Even those who reject Krishna, they cannot but think of him as important. Just like there are so many demons who don't like Krishna. If we ask the demons, who is Krishna, they'll become angry immediately upon hearing the name of Krishna. Like Shishupal. He was obsessed with Krishna. From the very beginning of his life, the first things, he was immediately thinking how to blaspheme Krishna. Just like the young children, the parents are waiting for them to say what is the first thing they will say? They're going to say, Mama, Papa, Shishupal, Krishna. From the very beginning, he hated Krishna. He was very Krishna conscious. He's always thinking of Krishna. Kamsa also was also thinking of Krishna, but Krishna, he thought of him as, for me, he is death personified. So, we don't want to hear about the demons. We don't want to hear what the demons have to say about Krishna. There's also a kind of rasa to be had in that. That's ghastly rasa. That's also one of the uparasas, or the subsidiary rasas. You feel something horrible, but it's in relationship to Krishna. So before we get through to the nice discussions, who is Krishna, we'll hear some of the more ghastly descriptions. And we'll reject them all and we'll go on to actually who is Krishna. If we ask different people, they'll give different replies. So we heard yesterday, playboy. Some people say Krishna is a playboy. Some people say he's immoral. He's against dharma. He induced, for instance, Yudhishthira to tell a lie. Actually, it wasn't a lie in the end, but it was almost a lie. It had the effect of a lie. And in this way, Drona was killed unfairly, and then Karna, Arjuna killed Krsna at Krishna's bidding in an unfair way. And again, Duryodhana, three of the greatest warriors in the battle, they were, and I have snip all through the class here. Thank you. Three of the greatest warriors, they were killed at the behest of Krishna in a manner which was adharma, against dharma. Is that right? It's a trick question. You don't know whether to say yes or no. Krishna, whatever he does is dharma. But if we take him as an ordinary person, then it would appear that he was doing something wrong. But even then, actually it wasn't wrong. Just like Krsna was protesting. How can you do this? This is against dharma. But Krishna said to him, where was your dharma when you tried to kill Bhima with poison? Where was your dharma when you cheated Yudhishthira of his kingdom? Where was your dharma when you you cheered Dushasana as he dragged Draupadi into the assembly? And Krishna went on and on and on, and listing the principal adharmic acts that Krsna had been involved in throughout his life. And then Krsna had nothing to say, and Krishna just had one more thing to say: kill him. And Arjuna killed him in that situation. So Krishna, it's well known, he's accused as being cheater, a liar, a thief. Some people say. We don't say. But there are these are better known, but there are other accusations against Krishna. According to the Jains, that, you see, even the Jains, officially they're not supposed to have anything to do with Jains, Buddhists. They have their own ideas. They don't follow the Vedas at all. But still, they can't avoid Krishna. He's so much integral to Indian culture, where Jainism and Buddhism took root. So according to the Jains, what's the main principle of Jain religion? Non-violence, even more than Buddhists. They're very strict about it. Of course, according to the Buddhists, ahimsa paramo dharma. Ahimsa is the main dharma, but they don't follow it much. Although the Jains, they're so strict that they won't even eat potatoes, because you have to dig them out of the ground, and in doing so you might kill some worms. That's pretty strict, isn't it? Of course, they don't mind going in motor cars, and you have to dig the oil out of the ground, but I don't think they have it. It's not in their scripture that you're not allowed to use oil, but that came later. Just like you see some Vaishnavas. I was once in the home of he became famous later, one disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was in his home in Vrindavan. And then they brought out the tea, and he was drinking tea. So I said, how are you drinking tea? You're supposed to be a devotee. He said, well, there's nothing in Hari Bhakti Vilas against it. Okay, bring out the cocaine. Why tea? Why stick at tea? So anyway, what did the Jains say about Krishna? They say, well, he was sinful because he killed so many people. But there's some good things about him also. So now he's suffering in hell, and when he's finished with that, he'll come back and he'll be a Tirthanka, which means like a leading saint of the Jain religion. How about that? I think it's better to kill and be violent to people than to have such a blasphemous idea. They're so strict about being vegetarians, but they have another form of violence in being so blasphemous against Krishna. The Buddhists, some Buddhists, they have an idea that Krishna is going to come back as a bodhisattva. in Mahayana Buddhism, they have this idea of bodhisattvas. They're self-realized, they're like Buddhas, but they come back out of compassion for the people of the world, which doesn't exist. And the people don't exist either. It's a funny philosophy. Anyway, Krishna is going to become a bodhisattva, according to them. And the Brahma Kumaris, who are just completely nonsense. They, do you have them here? Brahma Kumaris? Have them in Slovenia? Okay. Some good quality of Slovenia. They have a theory that their founder, he's going to come back again as Krishna. I don't remember his name. No need to remember it. And then again, this time Krishna is going to be good. Last time he was not so good, but this time he's going to be better. And our founder will come back and show Krishna how to be Krishna in the proper way. And at that time there'll be heaven on earth. So there are various demoniac theories. Mayavad. It leads ultimately to blasphemy. Shankaracharya, of course, he wasn't openly blasphemous against Krishna, but his theories that all is one and one is all, I am you and you are me and we are all together, it's all one. It ultimately leads to blasphemy against Krishna. As Srila Prabhupada noted, the modern day so-called followers of Vedanta, what they call themselves Neo-Vedantists, namely the Rama-Krishna mission. He said Prabhupada said that their behavior is so degraded that Shankaracharya himself, he would not support this. The chicken mission. They call them the Murgi mission, the chicken mission, because they have chicken farms to support their activities. And the sannyasis eat meat. And they talk about the Daridra Narayan, the poor Narayan in the street. So, just to show how degraded how Mayavad must degrade, and how we must kick out Mayavad and Sahajirism in all forms, and stick purely to the path of Krishna consciousness. If we go off, then we're on a tangent. And a tangent, in the beginning you don't notice, it's close to the original line, but gradually it goes further and further away. So, here's an example of how degraded you can get with Mayavad. One British considered himself some kind of philosopher, made a translation of Bhagavad-Gita. Somewhat famous among British literary circles. He died, I think, 1972, something like this. His name was Christopher Isherwood. And he was a homosexual, which wasn't fashionable in those days. Didn't become fashionable until recently. So in 1939, at the either just before the outset of the Second World War, he left England to go to America because previously he'd been in Germany and he had a boyfriend in Germany. And he didn't want to fight and find himself up shooting against his boyfriend. So he left and went to America. And in America, he was feeling some spiritual longings. So he was in Los Angeles or close to Los Angeles. He was brought to the Ramakrishna mission, where a sannyasi of the Ramakrishna mission was presiding there. And he was a direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, as the rascal is known among his followers. So this is all recalled in one book by Christopher Isherwood called My Guru and His Disciple. So anyway, he went to see this Swami, And he only had one question of him. And he thought, if he doesn't answer it to my satisfaction, I'll never go and see him again. So the question was, can I have a spiritual life even if I'm having sexual relations with a young man? And the Swami replied in a manner that was satisfying to the other rascal, the Isherwood rascal, that referring to the young man, the Swami said, you should think of him as the young Krishna. What a rascal. Better distribute those books, otherwise so many wrong ideas will come out about Krishna. So, and this man, then after this he translated Bhagavad-Gita. And what's he doing when he's translating Bhagavad-Gita, spoken by Krishna, thinking of Krishna in this way? So very sinful. Mayavad is very sinful. So if we're going to know who is Krishna, we won't listen to all these people who say many wrong things about Krishna. Even many Rama Bhaktas in India, they say, well, our Ram is better than your Krishna. See, your Krishna he's immoral, he's a womanizer. Our Ram is better, he's very moral, he'll never tell a lie and only sticks to one wife, doesn't have any girlfriends, what to speak of more than one wife. So people who speak like this, they're not real Ram Bhaktas. No real Ram Bhakta could say such a thing. They don't know who is Ram. Ram and Krishna are different. But Ram has come he has his own personal bhav, and he's come to teach one thing, that is he is Maryada Purushottam. He is Purushottam, he's the Supreme Lord, but he's come to demonstrate in the world what is proper behavior. And Krishna is Prema Purushottam or Lila Purushottam. He's come to show what is proper behavior for God. Ram comes to show what is proper behavior for man, and Krishna comes to show what is proper behavior for God. God means he doesn't have to follow all your stupid rules. He does what he wants. He's the only one who does what he wants as he wants. There's no maryada, there's no limit on Krishna. He simply does what he wants. But that's all auspicious for the world. To hear about Krishna with faith, Shrinu Sukhadam Shubhadam Bhavasana, in this nasty material world. Simply hearing about Krishna is a very joyful and bestowing of all auspiciousness. So we should hear about Krishna, but we should hear about him, obviously, from devotees, not from demons. There's so many demons. Some of them try to kill Krishna. Many we find in Krishna Lila, so many of them, they tried to kill him physically. Each one, they would think, now I will kill Krishna. And at the time, you see that the devotees, they were very afraid. When this Arishta Asura, Keshi Asura, they entered Vrindavan, many of the gopis, they had miscarriages due to fear. They were afraid. When Kaliya was grabbing Krishna, the Vrajvasis, they thought Krishna is going to die, and they also almost died. Because due to Yoga Maya, they couldn't understand that Krishna will never die. Balaram, everyone was when Kaliya had grabbed Krishna, everyone was distraught, except Balaram. Balaram was, okay, no problem. He was cool, because he knew no one's going to kill Krishna. But everyone else, due to Yoga Maya, they thought, in one sense, like the demons. The demons thought we can kill Krishna. And the Vrajavasis, they also thought, Krishna is just a little boy. and these huge demons. And what chance is there for Krishna? They were so afraid. And the big demons came to see Krishna, and they thought, it's just a little boy, there's no problem to kill him. Notwithstanding the fact that one demon after another was killed by Krishna, each one came thinking, well, I'll show them how to do it. I'm powerful. No one's going to conquer me. Little boy, what's he going to do? You can imagine the big demons coming up and they see a little boy and they think, there's no problem for me. But there was a big problem for them and they got killed themselves. Kamsa also, even after sending so many demons, powerful demons, who even Indra was afraid of, after sending so many demons to be killed by Krishna, but they themselves got killed. Even Kamsa, he was afraid of Krishna, but then also he would think, what am I? I'm so powerful. I've conquered so many kings. What is that? He subdued some little water snake called Kalaya, and people are making a big thing about it. And then my friends like Keshi and Arishta, just when they were a little inattentive, Krishna, he killed them. But it's just bad luck. That's all. So the demons, they think they can kill Krishna because they think he's some ordinary man, or maybe from his previous life, he has some mystic power, and therefore he's very powerful, or he's got some good luck due to punya from a previous life. But I am a big demon. I'm very powerful. I've got more mystic power than anyone. This is the way the demons thought. And one after another, they were killed. But as far as the devotees were concerned, it was a very fearful situation for them in each and every time. Of course, when Aghasura came, then the cowherd boys, by that time they thought, well, Krishna, he killed so many demons, so we needn't be worried about this demon. And so they all walked into Aghasura's mouth. They'd become so confident of Krishna's protection. And Krishna was looking at them and thinking, wow, that's amazing. How could anyone be so stupid as to... Well, it specifically said he saw the power of his Maya, that who would walk into a massive demon's mouth? Krishna was surprised. So in this way, so many demons came to kill Krishna. And in the modern age, the demons, Krishna is not physically present, so they can't attack him physically, but they attack him philosophically, or not even philosophically, but they try to say that, Krishna, he's not a person, he doesn't have any form, he doesn't have any pastimes, this is all just Maya. And we, the Mayavadis, we're above Maya. So Krishna was in Maya, and there's no actual form of Krishna. When Krishna says, surrender to me, it's not actually Krishna, but it's the unborn within Krishna. And in this way they try to kill Krishna and kill any inclination that people may have of actual bhakti toward Krishna. So they're also demons, and they influence people. We find in India, and that will come here, already coming here more and more, we find, sorry to say, even within ISKCON, gradually, Mayavadis are becoming popularized, or Mayavad or Sahajya ideas are creeping in. They won't come in through the front door. They'll come in very slow. Mayavad. No, not Mayavad. Bhakti. This is Bhakti. Disguised as Bhakti. Mayavad will come creeping. Tip, 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 tip. Of course, Krishna is not subject to Mayavad, but devotees, they can be influenced. One of the most famous commentators on Bhagavad-Gita, he was originally a Gauriya Vaishnava. And then he was studying in Navadvip, and he thought he would go to Varanasi and study Mayavad. Jiva Goswami, he also studied. Varanasi. And he studied all the, I don't know all of, but he studied the teachings of Shankaracharya for the sake of defeating it. But this Madhusudan Saraswati, he wasn't so successful in his attempt. So he wrote various books which sometimes he talks like a devotee, but ultimately his philosophy is Mayavad. And we find that in modern India, just like Gita Press is a good example of, they have nice, very beautiful pictures actually of Krishna and Rama. They speak the language of bhakti, but if you see their philosophy, if you speak with them or if you see what their philosophy is, ultimately they're Mayavadis. So we have to be very careful of this. Even all this Ramanandi Sampradaya, which theoretically came out of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. So they all have big tilak on and they're chanting Ram Nam, Sita Ram, 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 Sita. They'll go on for years. They have non-stop kirtan of Sita Ram. But then if you speak with any of them, they'll say ultimately Ram has come from the unmanifest. They're all Mayavadis. So for all their supposed devotion. So in India, it's a funny mix of bhakti and Mayavad. Shankaracharya, he also promoted, yes, bhakti is very good for the common people. You do bhakti and then gradually you can come to the stage of understanding that Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, and the Bhakta, they're all the same. So we find this rascaldom being propagated. There's one famous Mayavadi rascal. Mayavadi means rascal. But there are different categories of rascals. But he's very famous because he preaches on... Famous means for a small time. Then he'll go to hell and he'll be forgotten and someone else will come along. He's almost dead anyway. He's an old man. So he gives lectures on TV. One morning I was staying just outside Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, as most people do, because there's not much space to stay there. So I was staying in an ashram outside, and one morning I was coming to the temple and I heard from inside a house, what sounded like a lecture on TV, because it's common in the morning that they have lectures of sadhus on TV. Sometimes my lectures are there also. So I looked in to see what it was, and it's this Asharam rascal. So in Vrindavan, which is the land of Krishna, and they're watching this storyteller. He's very popular because he tells lots of stories and tells jokes, and then he gives Ayurveda and all this. Of course, he has some murder case against him also. But anyway, he's popular. So anyway, so I was told by one of my godbrothers. I didn't personally put myself through the ghastly rasa of sitting through any of his lectures. But one of my godbrothers told me that in one of his lectures, this Asharam he was speaking about Tukaram, the famous Vaishnava saint of Maharashtra, and this Asharam said that it completely made up. It's just something he made up, that the deity, Vital, Krishna, had said to Tukaram that there's no need of you to come to the temple anymore. Don't come and see me anymore. And Tukaram said, why? And Vital, the deity, said to him, well, because now you're self-realized, so you and me are the same. So there's no need for you to come anymore. So this, you see many people in India, they'll do bhakti, but they have the idea that we're doing bhakti and eventually we'll become more advanced and then we'll become one with Krishna or Rama or like this. So many wrong ideas are there. That's why we say hear from Prabhupada, hear from the devotees. Otherwise, you see people hear from their grandmothers, not nowadays. The grandmothers, they're just sitting watching TV like everyone else. On TV, you may see, in India at least, some series about Krishna, but they're all mixed up with wrong ideas. Or they have cartoon books, Amara Chitra Katha, with stories of Krishna, but we won't get a clear idea. Definitely some Mayavad will be there because it's everywhere. It's a serious disease affecting all those who don't hear from the proper devotees. So we don't want to hear from all these non-devotees or even people, they have a good sentiment for Krishna in one sense. There have been good Vaishnava preachers in the world. There still are. But unless people are properly trained in understanding the Siddhanta, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, then sentiment alone will not be enough. They have to understand actually who is Krishna. That's the topic of this series of lectures. Who is Krishna? Not the Mayavadi's Krishna. As Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said several times. We worship Rupa Goswami's Krishna. Not the Mayavadi's Krishna. Not the demons. We know Krishna as Rupa Goswami has taught us. Anyabhilashita shunya yanakamadhyana vritam anukulyena Krishna anushilanam bhakti rutama. This is Krishna, how we shall worship Krishna, as Rupa Goswami has taught us. I'm going to take a break here. You want to sing Hare Krishna for a few minutes? Hare Krishna. So we should hear about Krishna as he is. Krishna presents himself as he is. In Bhagavad-Gita, Srila Prabhupada presented Krishna, mostly he presented in Srila Prabhupada's lectures, his books, his conversation, all his preachings. He presented Krishna mostly as Krishna is understood from Bhagavad-Gita. So in Bhagavad-Gita we find Krishna presents himself as he is, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Matah parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya. There is no truth superior to me, Krishna says. What else in Bhagavad-Gita does Krishna say about himself? How does he establish himself as supreme? Aham sarvasya prabhavo matas sarvang pravartate. Krishna says, I am the source of everything. And again he says it in another way, everything comes from me. So Krishna establishes himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada also often said that people, they say to us that you show me God. But Prabhupada said that you try to see God as he presents himself. We're not ready. We don't have the qualification to see God directly now, but we can see him as he presents himself in Bhagavad-Gita. And Srila Prabhupada gave this example. Rasoham apsu kauntaya. I am the taste in water, Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita. So Srila Prabhupada said that everyone drinks water every day. So that taste we can appreciate. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. That taste is Krishna. Every day we see the light of the sun and the moon. That light is Krishna. So who is Krishna? The summary is given very nicely Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. The Supreme Controller is Krishna. His form is eternal, blissful, full of knowledge. He's not impersonal. He has no beginning. He is the beginning of everything. He is known as Govinda, the giver of pleasure to the land, the cows and the senses. And he is the cause of all causes. So this is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This very important term, which Krishna himself says in Bhagavad-Gita, Paramam Purusham Divyam, the Supreme Personality, person, male, Purusham, Paramam Purusham Divyam, not any ordinary person. He's the divine person, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Paramam Purusham Divyam Yati Partanu Chintayan. He is to be thought of. So, Krishna describes himself in Bhagavad-Gita. Of course, there are other descriptions of him in Srimad-Bhagavatam and even more intimate scriptures. But first we should understand Krishna as he presents himself in Bhagavad-Gita. Otherwise, if we try prematurely to understand Krishna as the Nagara, as the enjoyer of the young girls, then definitely we'll misunderstand Krishna. Very gradually we should approach these topics. We should understand Krishna through Bhagavad-Gita, understand Bhagavad-Gita through the devotees. Apart from the Mayavadis, there are also devotees, and we should understand Krishna through the devotees. There are many great devotees in different sampradayas. The most influential, their names are still famous in India, at least in some parts of India, and their contributions are still there for all to see, especially Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vallabhacharya. These were the spiritual leaders. There are many famous devotees, but they were spiritual leaders inasmuch as they, there are many famous devotees like Mira and Surdas. They're famous for their songs, and but the Ramanuja and Madhva especially, and also Nimbarka and Vallabh, they gave a philosophical system by which to understand Krishna. So they're considered more important actually. Their contribution is an all-around substantial contribution. They've given a system of philosophical understanding, and all of them, as acharyas, they gave philosophical understanding. They all wrote poems and songs in glorification of Krishna. They established temples, they made disciples, they wrote many books. They wrote many books glorifying Krishna. These are the symptoms of the great acharyas. So they all have some differences between them. Even Madhva in one place calls Ramanuja demon. Madhva was very extreme. But we see that they're all devotees. Philosophical differences are there, even in their bhav or their approach to Krishna in loving relationship. It's all somewhat different, but the essence is the same. That we should accept Vishnu is supreme. Ramanuja and Madhva, they accept actually that Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu. But we don't argue with them about this. Often that point is brought up in preaching in India, but I always say, we don't bother arguing. Their devotee is great. We don't. If they see Vishnu as the origin of Krishna, well, even that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, while discussing the point that Krishna is the origin of Vishnu, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, yeah, in one sense it's also true. From one perspective it's also true that Vishnu is the origin of Krishna. From this perspective, from our worldly perspective, Krishna appears as if an avatar of Kshirodakshai Vishnu. Maybe in the deity room, could kindly try to make a little less noise there. Not just for the class, but deities also don't like these kind of sounds. So what was I saying? They have different philosophical outlooks. And they may say Vishnu is the origin of Krishna. We don't argue with them about that. At least I don't. There's no point to argue. If they're worshipping Vishnu, very good, very nice. That should be encouraged. But again, it's due to lack of proper philosophical training, we'll find that many of them are confused. So we'll find that in traditional Sri Vaishnava families, in which for generations they've been worshipping Ramanuja, they've been worshipping Balaji or Ranganatha Swami, the famous deities. Now they're worshipping Sai Baba or some other bogus avatar. So this just goes to show, if we don't teach the proper understanding of Krishna consciousness, then very quickly all wrong ideas can come and absolutely, completely pollute everything. It's very sad to see that people who, their generations of their forefathers were staunch worshippers of Vishnu, and now they're worshipping some bogus avatar. So if that can happen to them, and they're coming from such a good background, then we should know it can happen to us, because we come from a much worse background. Unless we stick very clearly and rigidly to understanding Krishna as He is and being very serious about worshipping Him. Otherwise all kinds of rubbish will come in. So while listing all these wrong ideas about Krishna, I'm just giving some idea of how wrong people can be. But don't think that it can't happen to us. If we're not serious about Krishna consciousness, that means that we're serious about Maya. Or we give some room to Maya. Then we disagree with Krishna. When Krishna says, Mam ekam sharanam vraja, we think, no. Krishna says, you want me to surrender to you fully? No, I'm not going to. Or we may not be so openly defiant. We may say, yes, I'm fully surrendered to Krishna. And you see, here's my girlfriend, that's also Krishna. And in my career, that's also Krishna, and everything's Krishna, so yeah, I'm surrendered to Krishna. We find people with Mayavad, they're expert at twisting things to make themselves appear as if they are very pious, but actually they're avoiding Krishna. So we should understand Krishna through the devotees and try to understand what they say, just like we'll find in the Vallabh Sampradaya temples, even now, the worship is going on, and to some degree, and in some places they sing the different songs, nice songs for the pleasure of Krishna that they're supposed to sing at different times of the day. But there's no teaching of the philosophy that Vallabh taught. And so it's bhakti. But it's only like the feelings. It's only the feelings part. But the teachings by which we become fixed in understanding who is Krishna and how we have to surrender to Krishna, what it means to surrender to Krishna, that's not taught anymore. And therefore there are so many misunderstandings, and people don't surrender to Krishna. And they don't, even though they sing songs of bhakti, and it all seems very nice, but they don't get the real thing. So we should hear from devotees what they have to say, not make our selection. Of course, everyone has to make a selection. We may prefer to hear the nice things. We like to hear the nice things about Krishna, but we don't like to hear all this philosophy and understanding. And that's very dangerous. Then we're already in Maya just by thinking like that. And Maya will come in so many ways. So, we should hear Bhagavad-Gita as it is from the Acharyas. They're all sent by Krishna. Ramanuja, Madhva, Vallabh. In Vallabh Sampradaya they mostly worship Bal Gopal, this baby Krishna. So that mood is there. It's more in the Vatsalya Ras. Whereas in our Gauriya Sampradaya, here we're just trying to get rid of the Jara Ras or the Maya Rasa. But in the advanced stages, the actual goal is in our Sampradaya, it's concentrated on the dealings specifically between Krishna and the gopis, and also between Krishna and his cowherd boyfriends in Vrindavan. But in Vallabh Sampradaya, also Vrindavan, but more concentrated on the Vatsalya Rasa. And they also know that Krishna is with the gopis. So they all describe Krishna in different ways. In the Vallabh Sampradaya, it's called the Pushti Marg. And Rupa Goswami, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he says the Raga Marg, which he describes, or that of spontaneous devotion to Krishna, he said that is, it's non-different, or more or less the same as the Pushti Marga. So there's a lot in common. Alright, so Vallabh, if we ask him about Krishna, what will he say? Who is Krishna? He will say, Krishna is very sweet. So we can sing that now, this famous song of Vallabhacharya describing the sweetness of Krishna. This is the ultimate goal, to be appreciating the sweetness of Krishna. Yeah, I'll take one too. Please pass out these sheets. You also... So I'll read out the translation and then we can sing the song. And I may stop shortly after that because everyone's having a hard time to stay awake. His lips are sweet. Whose lips are sweet? Krishna's, right, that's right. His face is sweet. Whose face? Krishna. Actually, we don't find the word Krishna in this song at all. But it's understood that it's referring to Krishna. His name is given Madhuradhipati, which is translated here as the Emperor of Sweetness. So that's the name given for Krishna here. His lips are sweet, his face is sweet, his eyes are sweet, his smile is sweet, his heart is sweet, his gait is sweet. Gait here means his method of walking. Everything is sweet about the Emperor of Sweetness. His words are sweet. His character is sweet. Charitam, personality, his pastimes. His dress is sweet. His belly folds are sweet. You know what that means? His belly folds. You've seen Krishna, especially baby Krishna. Little fatty. So in his belly there's some folds like this. So it's also sweet. His movements are sweet. His wandering is sweet. Everything is sweet about the Emperor of Sweetness. His flute is sweet. His foot dust is sweet. His hands are sweet. His feet are sweet. His dancing is what? Any guesses? Anyone like to take a guess? His dancing is sweet. His friendship is sweet. Everything is sweet about the Emperor of Sweetness. His singing is sweet. Gitam madhuram. That can also be taken that his Bhagavad-Gita is sweet. His yellow cloth is sweet. His yellowness. Pitam madhuram. His eating is sweet. That could also mean his drinking is sweet. No? His eating is sweet. His sleeping is sweet. His beauty is sweet. His tilak is sweet. Everything is sweet about the Emperor of Sweetness. His deeds or his activities are sweet. His liberating is sweet. His stealing is sweet. His love spots are sweet. His oblations are sweet. His tranquility is sweet. Everything is sweet about the Emperor of Sweetness. His gopis are sweet. No, his gunja madhura. How did that become his gopis? His gunja means, berry necklace. Gunja means this red berries that Krishna likes to wear. His garland is sweet. What's going on? It's the wrong. It's mixed up the translations here. His gunja berry necklace is sweet. His flower garland is sweet. His Yamuna is sweet. The ripples of the Yamuna are sweet. His water is sweet. His lotuses are sweet. Shishtam is not translated here. Krishtam. I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up. Yeah. His lotuses are sweet. Everything is sweet about the Emperor of Sweetness. And then again. His gopis are sweet. His pastimes is sweet. His union is sweet. Yuktam madhuram. Yukti can also mean his plans. His food is sweet. He likes sweet food. Not only sweets, but in the Vallabh Sampradaya you'll find they offer lots of sweets. In Gujarat the food is sweet. The Vallabh Sampradaya is mostly in Gujarat. So there's sugar in the chapatis, in the dal, even Kerala. Do you know this bitter sabji? They cook that sweet also. Everything's sweet. His food is sweet. His delight is sweet. His courtesy is sweet. Shishta. Shishta means proper behavior. Everything is sweet about the Emperor of Sweetness. His cowherd boyfriends, they're also sweet. His cows are sweet. His staff is sweet. This means his stick, not his staff can mean the workers also. His creation is sweet. It's also sweet. If we see Krishna, then Vishvam Purna Sukhayate. The whole world becomes full of bliss. If we don't see Krishna, then it's Vishvam Purna Dukhayate. Full of nastiness. His trampling is sweet. Dalitam. You know that word, Dalita? Dalita Hiranyakashipu. So he crushes Hiranyakashipu. That's also sweet when he crushes the demons. Palitam madhuram. His fruitfulness is sweet. Everything is sweet about the Emperor of Sweetness. All glories to the Emperor of Sweetness, who has sweetly appeared. Where did Krishna appear? Where did Krishna appear? Where? Mathura. Okay. That's what they say, right? Any other opinions about that? He appeared in Gokul. Depends which side of the river you're on. Those who are Vrindavan, they say he appeared in Gokul. There's 2 Gokuls. Which Gokul? 2 Gokuls means Vallabhacharya, his Gokul. If you get in a auto rickshaw in Vrindavan and say, go to Gokul, they'll take you there. That's the famous. Of course, if they see us, they know we go to. But generally, they think that he has his place, which they call Gokul, and the Gauriyas, they go to another place. In Vrindavan, there's everything. There's 2 or 3 have everything. So Krishna appeared in Gokul. Krishna is the son of who? Devaki Nandan or Yashoda Nandan? Depends which side of the river you're on. So generally it's understood that Krishna appeared in Mathura. Yeah, he appeared in Mathura, but Yashoda Nandan Krishna, he was born from Yashoda, not from Devaki. So these are some controversial points. At least among ourselves, it shouldn't be controversial, but generally it's said Krishna appeared in Mathura. Of course, Vrindavan's also in the area of Mathura, so it's not incorrect to say that. But the Brijbasis, they know Krishna as Yashoda Nandan. But another name of Yashoda is also Devaki. So if we say he's Devaki Nandan, there's no fault in that. And anyway, there's no fault in it. It just depends who you ask. If you ask a Mathura-vasi, who is Krishna, he'll say Devaki Nandan. If you ask a Vrajavasi, he'll say Yashoda Nandan. So who is Krishna? If you say he's Devaki Nandan, it's true. It's one of the names of Krishna. It's definitely true. Devaki Nandan. But there may be, if you say Yashoda Nandan, also true. So there may be some difference of opinion. Who's right? Both are right. Is that logical? No. Good. Thank you. So that's one reason the demons, they are against Krishna and they're against Vaishnavas. They think, we're very philosophical. We've understood everything is all one. How can Krishna be God? He has a form. He's a person. That means limited. Limited, right? Just like I am a person. I'm in this particular stinking bag of bones at the present time. And this particular stinking bag of bones is sitting in this particular space. You can map it. If you take a map of Ljubljana, you can say that it's this plot, this particular plot of land on this particular seat at a particular elevation. So my body is here, it's not there. It's only in this place. It's not in any other place. So that's limited. I am now in Ljubljana. I'm not in Zagreb. I can't be in both places at once. A person means limited. Krishna is a person, therefore he must be limited. This is simple logic, right? Simple logic. Krishna is a person. Persons are limited. Every person is limited. For instance, in this way, in so many ways, but here's one example of how each person is limited. They can only be in one place at a time. Of course, yogis, they can expand themselves. Generally up to 9 forms. Sometimes we hear about, there was some yogi, he became eventually, let me see, which demon? Trinavarta. So he was a king who has expanded himself into 100 forms. So, 100 forms. With still 100 forms, you can't be all-pervading, and the Supreme Absolute should be all-pervading. So, Krishna is a person, he can't be all-pervading, he's limited. This is logic. Well, Krishna doesn't fit your logic. He's andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam. Mayatatamidam sarvang jagadavyakta murtina. Krishna, standing on the chariot at Kurukshetra, says, the person speaking to Arjuna says, by me this whole universe is pervaded. The whole universe is my unmanifested form. The Mayavadis, they got it round the wrong way. It seems to be right, what they say. If you take it logically, the ultimate should be without any specific characteristics, because if any specific characteristics means it's limited. Seems to be a good philosophy, right? Philosophically, it should be correct. It seems, according to our limited intelligence. But, there are other philosophical problems with that. Krishna is the supreme controller. We are controlled. Why is there anything? Because Krishna wants. Eko bahusyam. He expanded himself into many. So Krishna defies mundane logic. He cannot be approached by logic. And that's why we should hear about him from devotees. Because it might seem very logical that the Supreme is not a person, according to our defective way of thinking. So, yes, we should hear about Krishna from devotees, from real devotees, not bogus people. So I said the name of some other devotees, Surdas and Mira, Tukaram, Kanakdas, Purandardas. These are famous devotees, singers. They inspired common people, not very philosophical people. All the names of the devotees I mentioned, they all composed songs in the vernacular languages. That means languages like Hindi, Rajasthani, Brij Bhasha, Kannada, local languages. So the people could have easy access to that, because the philosophical works and even the poetry glorifying Krishna is traditionally in Sanskrit. So they made in the local languages so people could have easy access to that. And within their songs they also gave generally the right understanding. Of course, we sometimes have a difference with some of the things that Mira said. But generally the right understanding, but not in a very elaborate form. So without that elaborate teaching, people tend to be attracted to Krishna. Pious people will be attracted to Krishna. But without the elaborate teaching, then the tendency is there to degrade. And most people, they can't distinguish between those who are proper devotees and who are not. Just like in the Hindi-speaking area, Surdas is very famous. Mira is very famous. Kabir is also famous. And he seems to be like a devotee, but he has some very strange ideas also. He's against deity worship, for instance. In Assam, they are followers of the local culture is one of worship of Rukmini and Krishna. But the Shankara Dev, who was the big preacher in that area, is ultimately impersonal also. Strongly impersonalistic. So we should get the right idea. If we don't get the right idea, then we get the wrong idea. That's logical. It may be the right idea, but mixed with the wrong idea. So that we find everywhere. Just like in India, you find mostly people, they worship demigods. And they worship Krishna also. And yeah. All the same. Whatever you want. One day is for worshipping Krishna, and one day is for worshipping Durga, one day is for worshipping Ganesh, and every day is for watching television. Like this. One day it's supposed to be one day of the week, but now it became one day a year for many people. Janmashtami, or like this. So whenever they happen to go to a temple. So mixed ideas, but still devotion to Krishna is there. Where the subject is, who is Krishna? If we ask different people, we'll get different answers. So if we ask, Orissa people, who is Krishna? What will they say? Jagannath. If you're driving on a bus, if you're going on a bus from Bengal to Orissa, you know when you've crossed the border, because everywhere there's pictures of Jagannath. It's just immediately. In South Orissa, that's more Nrsimha worship. But Jagannath culture is very strong throughout Orissa. Then if we go to Gujarat, then Vallabh Sampradaya is there, Bal Gopal, baby Krishna. And also very popular and well known is Rancha Rai. Outside of Gujarat, they don't know him much, but it's one famous Krishna temple in Gujarat of actually Dwarkadish. The deity Dwarkadish ran away from Dwarka. Not exactly ran away, he was kidnapped by one of his devotees who took him to Dakar. And that's a holy place in Gujarat, and many people go there. And in Gujarat, they know him, they know Krishna as Rancha Rai. Rancha, this popular name of Krishna there. And Dwarkadish. So in different parts of India, we'll get different names of very popular. Srinathji, the Vallabh Sampradaya. Srinathji, they worship Srinath. Did I see? Where was that? Somewhere I saw a picture of Srinathji. You'll find in Gujarat. And if you phone someone in their Vallabh Sampradaya, when they won't say hello, they'll say Jai Shri Krishna. When they speak in the phone, that's their form of greeting. Jai Shri Krishna. So that's good, isn't it? It's nice. It's like we say among ourselves, Hare Krishna. We should say Hare Krishna. So they say Jai Shri Krishna. Then different forms in Chennai. Who's the form of Krishna in Chennai? Anyone? Anyone went to Chennai? No one? No one here went to South India? No one? Parthasarathi. There's a big temple of Parthasarathi. Krishna as the charioteer of Arjuna. And close to Chennai is Tirupati, Balaji. And then a little bit south, there is Tirupati's northwest, and southwest is Srirangam, Ranganatha Swami. So these Tirupati and Ranganath, they're the most famous temples in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. So they worship it. There's so many temples, 108 Divya Deshams, and mostly in, I think, 80 something like that are in Tamil Nadu. Holy places established by the Alvas, the great devotees of, and Ramanuja worship there also. So ancient holy places. Going back, Sri Rangam, how old is that? How long has Ranganath Swami been in Sri Rangam? Anyone? Since the time of, just after Rama, Vibhishana. Vibhishana took, he was sent back by Ram. You don't stay with me forever, this is my kingdom, you have to look after your kingdom in Lanka. He said, well, I can't leave you. And Ram said, I'll go with you. You take the deity, who's actually, was given by Ram to this Vivasvan, and he gave it to Ikshvaku. And then he gave it to, he's in the dynasty. Then, I'm getting mixed up now. Anyway, at one point, Hanuman was worshipping. And then anyway, Vibhishana took the deity. And then they saw a very nice place, an island in the middle of the Kaveri River, on the way to Lanka. They thought, we'll just stop and rest here. And then when they're ready to go again, Vibhishana is ready to go again, Ranganatha Swami said, I like this place, I'm going to stay here. So he stayed there. So like that, there's so many temples. Madhvacharya established his Krishna temple. Krishna came to him. He didn't bring the deity. The deity of Krishna in Udupi. It's not that Madhvacharya thought, now I'm going to make a temple. Krishna came to him unexpectedly. The same Krishna who was worshipped by Devaki by Rukmini and Devaki in Dwarka, later came to Madhvacharya and still worshipped there. And now by Srila Prabhupada's grace, there are so many temples. So that in Bombay, if you ask people, who is Krishna? They know the Rasa Bihari. It's become it's by far the most famous Krishna temple in the whole area. So like that. There are so many temples of Krishna in his various forms. Rama, Nrsimha, many Rama temples, many temples of Krishna as Vishnu, temples as Nrsimha. There are many Nrsimha temples throughout India, but especially in Andhra Pradesh, some in Tamil Nadu. And then there are few temples, not so many of other avatars, of Varaha, Kurma, Vamana, these different forms. Keshava Dhrita Dashavidha Rupa, the 10 famous forms of Krishna. And so Krishna conscious culture is there. People are forgetting Krishna, but still they can't fully forget him. It's not possible for them. The culture is so strong and so deep and so old that people cannot forget Krishna. Even when they give all these wrong ideas about Krishna, still they're remembering Krishna. The subject of Krishna is there. Even if people say, Krishna is a liar, Krishna is a cheat, he's a thief, he's a lumpert, playboy, still they're thinking about Krishna. Maybe not a very favorable way, but still somehow or other they can't forget Krishna. So our job in India is to tell people who is Krishna actually, according to what the acharyas tell us. That's why it's significant that Prabhupada appeared the day after Krishna. Krishna comes and then the devotee comes to tell us who is Krishna. Otherwise Krishna comes and we forget. But Prabhupada went all over the world and shouted, telling everyone, and preaching very strongly, and telling everyone, who is Krishna? So we have to understand Krishna through the acharyas, through Shastra, not simply sentimentally, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So the source of all this knowledge of Krishna in Guru, Sadhu, Shastra is Vyasadeva. He gave all the Shastras. He's the original Acharya. All the Acharyas worship him. The appearance of the spiritual master that's called Vyasa Puja. There's a day actually for worshipping Vyasadeva, who was manifested in the form to Vyasadeva is teaching about Krishna by giving all the scriptures. He taught about Krishna. Vedaischa sarvera hameva vedyaha. Krishna says, I am to be known through the Vedas. I am the subject of knowledge in the Vedas. Who is Krishna? We should know from the Vedas. And Vyasadeva, he has given the Vedas. He divided the Veda and gave the Vedas. And he has his own compositions, Vedanta Sutra and Mahabharata, which they also point to Krishna. And at the end, his last contribution is Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is also in one sense you can say his contribution. It's not exactly like the Vedas, which are not even one syllable changes. But Srimad-Bhagavatam, that may appear in different forms, somewhat different forms in different times and places. So we have Bhagavatam as Vyasa gave it. So if we are to understand Krishna, we should understand from Bhagavad-Gita, which is given by Vyasa, but even more so from Srimad-Bhagavatam. In Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna establishes He's the Supreme, but in more detail, with many more nuances. Krishna is presented by Vyasa in Srimad-Bhagavatam. So if we want to know who is God, if people want to know who is God, they may have been confused. But if they consult Srimad-Bhagavatam and understand that from a devotee by the mercy of Vyasa, then we can understand who is God. This first verse of Srimad-Bhagavatam gives more definitive theistic knowledge than everything in the non-Vedic traditions. There's Christianity, they talk of God, and Allah in Islam, but we have in one verse what Vyasa has given. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. From the very beginning gives his name. Om, he is the spiritual principle. Namaha, to be offered obeisances to. Bhagavate, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudeva, specifically, this person. Not some imagined or no name. He is this person, Vasudeva, and he is Janmadhyasya yata anvayad iteratas chatesh vapignaswarat tene brahma hridaya adi kavaye muhyanti yat suryaha tejo vari mridang yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha dham na svena sada nirasta kuhakang satyang parang dhimahi. We should go to all these interfaith conferences. It's become very popular. Devotees go to interfaith conferences and say, here is God. Janmadya Sayata, give them the first verse of Bhagavatam. Now, what have you got to say? What will you say? What's your conception of God? Here's the first. We have 18,000 verses. This is the first of them. And what have you got to say now? What have you got to tell us about God? Generally they can say that omnipresent, omniscient, omnipotent. And that's it. That's all they have to say about Him. They don't really know much about Him. But in the first verse of Bhagavatam, that this Janmadya Sayataha, He is the source of all emanations, which means that the material world is manifest by Him, maintained by Him, ultimately destroyed by Him. There's a whole world of Vedic study, right, in those Janmadya Sayataha. The whole understanding of the material world. Everything comes from Krishna. Everything is maintained by Krishna. Everything enters into Krishna. He is directly and indirectly conscious of everything, eternally. He's all-powerful. He's independent. It was the knowledge of the Veda, He imparted that to Brahma at the time of creation. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi. But then when I say, well, why doesn't everyone understand about Krishna? Because even the great demigods, who are much more intelligent than us, they're also bewildered about Him. Or just as in a mirage, we mistake one thing to be another. So we mistake Krishna to be insignificant, and we take that which is insignificant to be significant. He is, Trisarga means in 3 phases of time, 3 creations. Krishna is behind all that. But he is not of the nature of this material world. He is Satya. He is not Mrisha. He's not some false apparition. Krishna is reality. He eternally exists in his own abode, in which there is no question of any illusionism of this material world. He is this supreme, ultimate reality who we should meditate upon. So this is in brief. So Vyasadeva has presented. Vyasadeva in one verse gives more actual knowledge of God than we'll find actually even in the Vedas. Vedeshu durlabham. It's difficult to find Krishna in the Vedas. All the Vedas are meant for knowing Krishna, but it's difficult to find Krishna in the Vedas. Therefore, it's better that we study Sarva Vedeti Hasanam Saram Saram Hudahritam. That which is taken from the essence of all the Vedas and all the Ramayana, Mahabharata, everything. The essence of that is taken, and then again the essence of that. The essence of the essence, that is Srimad-Bhagavatam, given by Vyasa. But then sometimes it's said, Vyasa veti na veti va. And that's maybe Vyasa himself. Even it's such a great topic, Vyasa is expressing, but what are the full implications? Even maybe Vyasa. Some doubt is there. That he knows Krishna is Janmadhyasya Yataha, the source of all emanations. But does he know him as Shuka knows? Aham vedmi Shuko veti. Shukadev, he knows for sure. So Vyasadeva has given us Bhagavatam, which has been given by Shukadev, touched by the lip. Shukamokha adamrita drava sangitam. It's become even more nectarian by the grace of Shukadev. So, we should understand what the Vedas say. What the Vedas say is, what do the Vedas say about Krishna? They say many things in the Vedas. Trigunya Vishaya Veda. The Vedas, they mostly deal with the modes of nature. By all the Vedas, Krishna is to be known, but taken extrinsically or exoterically. Then it appears that the Vedas are concerned with mundane matters. So, to understand what the Vedas say about Krishna, it's better to turn to the Srimad-Bhagavatam and see what they say. We can read the prayers of the personified Vedas, in which the various Vedas, they glorify Krishna. They come to the point of glory. That's the ultimate purpose of the Vedas. All right, I'll finish there because it looks like it's hard going for many of us. In the afternoon, devotees, they get a little more lively. I think we can go for Harinam. We're supposed to go Harinam at 10 o'clock, was it? So we can go. Any questions about this? I'm just going through very quickly. If we say, who is Krishna? It's a big topic, isn't it? If we ask Ananta, we'll never get an end to the Ananta Dev. He's always glorifying Krishna. He has unlimited mouths, and he never says the same thing twice. And he never runs out of inspiration. He's always got more and more and more and more to say about Krishna. So it could become a very long lecture if we ask Ananta to give the lecture. He's already giving the lecture. He's always glorifying, non-stop, Krishna. There's no end. Any question, comment, or protest about what's been said so far? All right, then Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.